Okay, let's get into chapter 15, which Dr. Woodson is going to talk about vocational guidance. What does the Negro need to do to improve one's vocational guidance? I hope you're really paying attention to these chapters as well as sharing this with others. Please don't keep it to yourself. Chapter 15, vocational guidance. But how can the Negro in this new system learn to make a living? The most important task to which all people must give attention. To what, however, are they to guide their Negro students? Most students now employed are going down blind alleys. And unfortunately, some schools seem to do more than to stimulate their going in that direction. And unfortunately, I'll read it again. Some schools seem to do more than to stimulate their going in that direction. This may seem to be a rash statement, but a study of our educational system shows that our schools are daily teaching Negroes what they can never apply in life, or what is no longer profitable because of the revolution of industry by the multiplication of mechanical appliances. These facts have been known for generations, but some of these institutions apparently change not. Education, like religion, is conservative. It makes haste slowly only, and sometimes not at all. Do not change the present order of thinking and doing, many say, for you disturb too many things long since regarded as ideal. The dead past, according to this view, must be the main factor in determining the future. We should learn from the living past, but let the dead past remain dead. It is revealed that in many establishments, the Negro, when a young man starts as a janitor or a porter and dies in old age in the same position, no growth, no vision. Go back, look at the chapter, listen to the chapter on visioning. Tradition fixes his status as such, and both races feel satisfied. When this janitor or porter dies, the daily's headline, the passing of this Negro who knew his place and rendered satisfactory service in it. Thoughtless Negro editors, instead of expressing their regret that such a life of usefulness was not rewarded by promotion, take up the refrain of as some great honor bestowed upon the race. In the present plight of economic dependence, there is no occupation for which the Negro may prepare himself with the assurance that he will find employment. Opportunities which he has today may be taken from him tomorrow. And schools, changing their curricula in hit and miss fashion, may soon find themselves on the wrong track, just as they have for generations. Negroes do not need someone to guide them to what persons of another race have developed. Read again. Negroes do not need someone to guide them to what persons of another race have developed. They must be taught to think and develop something for ourselves. It is most pathetic to see Negroes begging others for a chance, as we have been doing recently. Do not force us into starvation, we said. Let us come into your stores and factories and do a part of what you are doing to profit by our trade. The Negro as a slave developed this fatal sort of dependency. and restricted mainly to menial service and drudgery during nominal freedom. He has not grown out of it. Now the Negro is facing the ordeal of either learning to do for himself or die out gradually in the breadline in the ghetto. The large majority of persons supposedly teaching Negroes never carry to the schoolroom any thought as to improving their condition. Most of them are satisfied with receiving their pay and spending it for toys and the gigas of life. For example, the author is well acquainted with a Negro of this type, who is serving now as the head of one of the largest schools in the United States. From the point of view of our system, he is well educated. He holds advanced degrees from one of the leading institutions of the world, and he is known to be well informed on all the educational theories developed from the time of Socrates down to the day of Dewey. Yet, this educator has said repeatedly that in his daily operations, he never has anything to do with Negroes because they are impossible. He says that he never buys anything from a Negro store, and he would not dare put a penny in a Negro bank. For example, not long ago, a committee of Negroes in a large city went to the owner of a chain store in their neighborhood and requested that he put a Negro manager in charge. The manager, however, asked them to be fair enough with his firm and themselves to investigate before pressing the matter any further. They did so and discovered that 137 Negro families in that neighborhood seriously objected to buying from Negroes and using articles handled by them. These Negroes then had to do the groundwork of uprooting the inferiority idea which had resulted from their miseducation. To what, then, can a Negro, while despising the enterprise of his fellows, guide the youth of his race? And where do you figure out that the youth thus guided will be by 1950? The whites are daily informing Negroes that they do not need to come to them for opportunities. Can the Negro youth, miseducated by persons who depreciate their efforts, learn to make opportunities for themselves? This is the real problem with which Negroes must solve. And he who is not interested in it and makes no effort to solve it is worthless in the present struggle. In other words, they live in a world, but they are not of it. How can such persons guide the youth without knowing how these things affect the Negro community? Negroes of the District of Columbia have millions of dollars deposited in the banks downtown, where Negro women are not allowed in the ladies' restroom. Large numbers of Negroes live in such a community. You said that such an atmosphere is not congenial, and you will not lose time with these people who are thus satisfied. But the exploiting preacher, the unprincipled politician, the notorious gambler, and the agent of vice are all there purposely misleading these people who have not as yet shaken from their minds the shackles of slavery. What is going to become of them? What is going to become of you? So many Negroes now engaged in business have no knowledge of its possibilities and limitations. Most of them are unwise as a Negro businessman who came to Washington recently in a $10,000 car, representing a firm with only $100,000 invested. It is only a matter of time before his firm will be no more. He started out destroying his business at the very source. While Negroes are thus spending their means and themselves in riotous living, the foreigners come to dwell among them in modest circumstances long enough to get rich and to join those who close in on those unfortunates economically until all the hopes of their redemption are lost. If the Negroes of this country are to escape starvation and rise out of poverty unto comfort and ease, they must change their way of thinking and living. A man whom the author knows is decidedly handicapped by having lost a lucrative position. He must now work for a little more than half of what he has been accustomed to earn. With his former stipend, he was able to maintain 2 or 3 girls in addition to his wife, and he drank the best of bootleg stuff available. And now, trying to do all these things on a small wage, he finds himself following a most torturous course to make his ends meet, and he suffers within as well as without. This undesirable attitude toward life results from the fact that the Negro has learned from others how to spend money much more rapidly than he has learned how to earn it. In large cities like Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, Chicago, they earn millions and millions every year and throw these vast sums immediately away for trifles which undermine their health, vitiate their morals, and contribute to the undoing of generations of Negroes unborn. For example, a Negro starts a restaurant on the corner and does well. A Negro starts a restaurant on the corner and does well. Another Negro, observing this prosperity, thinks that he can do just as well by opening a similar establishment next door. The inevitable result is that by dividing the trade between himself and his forerunner, he makes it impossible for either one to secure sufficient patronage to continue in business. In undertakings of great importance, this same undesirable tendency toward duplication of effort is also apparent. It has been a common thing to find 2 or 3 banks in the Negro community, each one struggling for an existence and competing for the patronage of a small group of people, all of whom would hardly be able to support one such financial institution. The Negro community then never has a strong financial institution with sufficient resources to stimulate the efforts of the businessmen who otherwise might succeed. The same short-sightedness has been evident in the case of insurance companies organized by Negroes. One such established here and then another followed there in imitation of the first. We have been accustomed to boast that the Negroes have about 50 insurance companies in this country, marking the corners of the streets of the cities with large signs displaying what they are doing for the race. Instead of boasting of such unwise expansion, we should have received such information with sorrow. For what the race actually needs is to merge all of the insurance companies, now supported by Negroes, and to make one good one. Such a step away from duplication would be a long stride toward our much needed awakening, and it would certainly give us prestige in the business world. John D. Rockefeller did not set out to imitate Vanderbilt. Rockefeller saw his opportunity in developing the oil industry. Carnegie had better sense than to imitate Rockefeller, for that task was already well done, and he consolidated the steel interests. Henry Ford knew better than to take up what Carnegie had exploited, for there appeared a still larger possibility for industrial achievement in giving the world the facility of cheap transportation in a low-price car. While such guidance as the Negro needs will concern itself first with material things, however, It must not stop with these as ends in themselves. In the acquisition of these, we lay the foundation for the greater things of the Spirit. For the Negro, then, the door of opportunity is wide open. Let him prepare himself to enter this field where competition is no handicap. In such a spirit, he may learn to lead the world while keeping pace with it in the development of the material things of life. Well, we only have a few more chapters before we get to the end of the book. I really hope that you will share this information and comment on it and talk about it. I think that Dr. Woodson was right on point, and it's evident even today in 2024.